Dustin Poirier has made a big gamble and has bet on himself to beat Conor McGregor for the second time and claim the Trilogy en route to his title fight with Charles Oliveira. And in my opinion, this is a smart gamble. I believe that Dustin Poirier will end up winning the Trilogy this Saturday, and there are a lot of reasons for my confidence in the Diamond being this high to get the job done. Firstly, 6 months is a short time to recover from being knocked out and getting your leg kicked out from under you. There's a reason the Athletic Commission suspends fighters from contact for 60 days following a knockout loss, which means that McGregor has had at best 4 months of time to practice, which in itself is little time to patch up all the holes in his game that Dustin exploited. Firstly, the Notorious wasn't able to defend against the calf kick to save his life in their second meeting. Instead of just stepping in and countering with strikes, checking the kick, kicking back, or pulling his leg out of the way of the kick, McGregor chose to employ the worst strategy of defense. He reached down to catch the kick. This would leave him open to Superman punches, head kicks, and other such attacks once Dustin would condition him for that response. Secondly, it seems that McGregor has regressed in terms of his dynamic striking arsenal. McGregor only threw 2 types of strikes up until 1 minute left in the first round at range, that being the jab and the cross. McGregor overly relied on landing his left hand and either would not or could not set it up the way that he used to. He threw the left hand naked as opposed to setting it up with a feint or flashy kicks which would keep Dustin in front of him and lined up for that power hand. Also, it seemed as if Conor wasn't only battling Dustin, but he was also battling his ego in that octagon. He would throw a basic combination, a 1-2, Dustin would completely avoid it, and Conor would throw it again and again until he finally landed a punch. This will most definitely lead to Poirier finding his timing and landing that check hook as he was landing the entire fight, which would definitely lead to yet another KO/TKO loss for the Notorious. Dustin can also opt to wrestle early, choosing to sacrifice excitement for the early rounds in favor of draining McGregor of his gas tank and pouring it on later on in the fight, as he is apt in doing. He can easily push Conor back to the fence using that shifting combination like he did a few times in their second fight, or choose to use the shift to shoot in on a takedown yet again. In my opinion, Dustin just has too many paths to victory, whereas McGregor seems to be restricted to only one, his striking. Dustin can mix it up on the feet, take it to the ground, make it a war for a decision, whereas Conor just has one hope of knocking him out. Also, historically speaking, Dustin is statistically favored to win the Trilogy. I have chosen 12 of the highest profile trilogies, and these fights have taken place across different promotions, eras of the sport, and rule sets to further highlight that there is a glaring similarity in the outcomes of most of these. The winner of the second fight usually goes on to win the Trilogy. Now, this could be explained by the fact that by the time the second and third fights come along, the fighters are usually in their respective primes and are the fully polished and finished products, meaning that the full potential of each fighter is uncovered and the better overall fighter wins. These trilogies played an integral part in shaping the legacies of some of the greatest fighters in the sport, as well as the history of the sport itself. Boss Rutan kickstarting his legacy, the genesis of Chuck Liddell's stardom, the passing of the torch between Hughes and GSP, emergence of Dominic Cruz as a bantamweight mastermind, Cain Velasquez proving himself to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, to Stipe Miocic dethroning him and wearing that crown himself. These trilogies were great displays of a fighter's improvement in both skill set and mindset, as well as going on to prove that the winner of the second fight is usually the winner of the trilogy, as both fighters are on even footing in terms of their respective skill progressions and places in their careers. The trio of exceptions to our trend have 2 controversial outcomes, with only the trilogy between BJ Penn and Matt Hughes being free of any extenuating circumstances. The second fight between Randy Couture and Vitor Belfort had been stopped within a minute of the opening bell due to Vitor opening a cut on Randy's eyelid off of a glancing shot, which if it had not landed, would most likely have produced a victory for the natural yet again. The rematch fight between Nate Diaz and Gray Maynard was a razor-close split decision victory for Gray, which many fans and media members dispute was the wrong call of the night to this day. However, we can talk all we want about techniques, style matchups, timetables, and historical context. Or we can look at the one piece of happenstance that will almost completely guarantee that Dustin will secure the win in the title shot. Conor McGregor decided that it would be a great idea to get a haircut on Embedded. Bet the house on Dustin, boys.